There are other different types of dementia, and depending upon where the difficulties lie, that in the illness determines the course of treatment.
Yes, you can. All you have to do is want to do it.
Yes.
Want to be it.
When you set your mind to it, and this is who you are, and
The grown men. We have the youth that we need to mentor, and we need to inspire, and we need to motivate. But I know, as a recent conversation between you and I, that you're also in the business of motivating grown men. Through that, I'm supposed to see God in it at every turn. So me going to the Sea of Galilee was to remind me of that, to refresh myself of that. It is all under control, that He does have it. It's just as clear as that fresh water that I saw.
You're Our Unity, hosted by LeShawn Walker, Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. EST.
Welcome, everyone, to Your Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time. We want to encourage you to get ready. Get ready for what 2023 has in store for your life. Get your house in order. Take care of any problems you may have. Mend some relationship situations. Take care of yourself. Be whole with yourself before 2023 arrives. I mean, I know God has so much in store for us all. So let's make sure that we are whole, all mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Just take care of yourself. I am your host and your gift, LeShawn Walker. I'd like to welcome you into another episode. Please like, share, and follow. Let everyone know that we're on right now. Happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish friends and family out there, and Merry Christmas. Can you believe that Christmas is in a matter of days? Like, it really, truly snuck up on me this year. The days are going by so quickly, and I haven't finished or even began my Christmas shopping. So to all my friends and family out there, I'm sorry, the gift might be a little late, but I am your gift tonight, so please enjoy. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. The last few days have been so amazing for Your Our Unity. As I mentioned last week, and actually for the past couple of weeks, we were putting on a Santa Claus gift giveaway. And I was finally able to dash all over the north, south, east, and west in my little buggy, honoring Sandy Cabrera this holiday season, spreading joy and cheer to all the children out there. It was truly amazing. The kids, oh, those are my little Santa helpers, by the way, Sandy and I, with Tracy and her beautiful daughter, Sky, we were delivering these beautiful gifts to these grateful children. I was so happy to see their faces. I rolled up in their doorstep and I was jingling my bells. I didn't sing any songs, but I definitely had a lot of holiday cheer with me, and it was really fun. The parents were happy to see us as well, but I think I was just more happier to see the smiles on these children's faces. They were really, truly grateful for the fact that we just blessed them with a very happy Christmas. Not something that, they were expecting, but something that was sort of a surprise, and they wished and hoped for it, and we delivered. So I'm so glad that we were able to go to these different areas throughout Queens and Brooklyn and Suffolk and Nassau County, just spreading the holiday cheer in honor of Sandy Cabrera. And honestly, I can't wait to do it next year. I'm so serious. And I also want to thank everyone who contributed and donated to the children's wish list and adopted a family. Again, it was a wonderful event. It was a lot of work, I'm not going to lie. And I think I mentioned that last week, but it was so worth it. And I encourage you guys out there to give back in some capacity. There are so many families that are going through something this time of year. And those are the families that we actually touched. Families that were dealing with unforeseen circumstances, some type of challenge or hardship. And unfortunately, their children probably saw it and didn't know, how they were going to deal with Christmas, or even if they were going to have one. So I'm so glad that we were able to just give a little something to them so that they can celebrate this season right. So also I went to VSPC the next day, my church, Valley Stream Presbyterian Church, and we gave away gifts to the beautiful children who attend Sunday service every single week. We challenged them with asking them what they want to see in the progression of the church, what changes or what ideas do they have. And in that, we also shared with them our love, and we also gave them some wonderful, wonderful gifts. So it was a weekend just full of giving, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. I'm exhausted, actually, because I'm not done. As I mentioned, I have a lot of gift giving that I still must do. So tell me what you guys are up to. Did you finish your gift list, or do you, like I, have to do some shopping on Christmas Eve? As I mentioned about these kids, they ranged in ages from little babies to 14, 15, 17-year-olds. I saw so much light in these kids and seeing their hopes through their eyes. And I just saw, honestly, future leaders before me. Future leaders that understood what the gift of giving was and what serving is. And so in the spirit of leaders and leadership, I wanted to introduce you to a young man who is doing that in his community, giving back and serving in every capacity. He is a new generation of leaders that we so desperately need to be the voice for our communities. And he has truly, honestly impressed me in the short time that I've known him. So the title of the show today is Leaders of the New School. And we're going to be talking to Amaru Jones. Amaru Jones is a 24-year-old community leader from Suffolk County, New York. After graduating SUNY Cortland with a degree in political science and African studies, Amaru became a world history teacher at Success Academy Charter School. Amaru loved pouring knowledge into the youth and learned from a young age how important and powerful education is. So much so that he decided to embark on another journey in hopes of making a bigger impact on his community. He currently serves as a legislative aide for the Suffolk County Legislature, where he learned a lot about the political process and how it affects his community. Amaru and his childhood friends created Leaders of the New School, an organization designed to provide empowerment programs to enhance the youth afflicted by the inequalities of economic, social, and political injustice. As president, Amaru is inspired and motivated by his team and the community every day, and is thankful for the opportunity to serve. Dedicated to his dreams, Amaru is working diligently to become a councilman for the township of Huntington. He knows how important local politics is to the government and strives to put the right people in office so that the needs of the community are met. He is here to share why we can all be leaders in our community. Please help me welcome Mr. Amaru Jones. How are you, sir?
How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's a blessing.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. This man is, as I mentioned, truly amazing, doing big things, affecting change in his town, and probably saw these things that are needed at a young age. Am I right?
Yes. I always gravitated towards politics and education as well.
Mhm.
It kind of was always something that's been a part of me. My mom had a nonprofit organization growing up in North Carolina,
Right.
as well as a lot of the individuals I was around.
Right.
A lot of my mentors and a lot of the people I still look up to this day have been working in politics, and the people that I've grown to know in the education field sphere
Mm-hmm.
has definitely helped me become a lot better with a lot of things that are going on. And
Yeah.
blending the two was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, that is wonderful. I'm so impressed with that, especially at 24 years old. But now I understand. I mean, knowing your mom had an organization when you were younger. Tell us a little about your childhood. I understand that you lived here in Long Island for a short time and then you moved to North Carolina. Tell us about your upbringing.
Yes. So for most of my life, well, I could say like literally half of my life, I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's an army-based town. Nothing to do. For the most part, the only thing you could do down there is get in trouble. But my mom was a very strict woman, and I had an older brother as well that kind of kept me on the right path. Always kept me either doing sports or just focusing a lot on my education.
Right.
And a lot of my friends to this day always. It's always a place that I can always connect to never forget where I come from.
Wow.
And then eventually I moved up back to Long Island where my mom is originally from.
Right.
And we started the whole building here, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Did you notice any vast difference, or was it a huge adjustment?
Oh, man.
Coming from North Carolina back to New York, especially at that time of your life?
Yes, there was definitely times when, a lot of people always say like being down south is a lot slower than New York.
Yes.
And, even in education, I was a lot of times when I first got out here, I was a little behind a little bit for a lot of the things that we were learning.
Wow.
And I had to like catch back up. It kind of put me in a very like weird state, like when I was like 12 years old, because it made me realize that what I truly wanted to do, I had to like work hard and get it.
Wow.
Because my mom, she didn't think that was a good enough excuse at all. So I'm glad that she actually was like hard on me, like your potential, you don't even see it, just keep on working.
Yeah.
And eventually, just like everything in life, once you just keep doing the right things and never skip any steps in the process, it will eventually help you out in the long run.
Yeah.
And eventually
it did. That's truly amazing. So here, I know when you came back, you were, an athlete. You played football. I believe you played basketball as well.
Yeah. So I played football for Huntington High School as well as track. Huntington High School. I kind of stopped playing basketball early in my high school career. But those two sports definitely groomed me into becoming a better man.
Wow.
I think the structure and stuff that a lot of times children need, because children need like structure, or young teens need structure, or they just need steps of what to do each day to keep them on the straight and narrow. And that's exactly what it did. And I grew to love both sports deeply. And my football and track coach is definitely a mentor of mine that I still keep in touch with very frequently.
That is so cool. It sounds like you had a great support system growing up.
Yes.
With your brother, showing you sort of life through his eyes, and then your mom, being the person that gives back and nurtures and is so compassionate. And now you're saying your mentors. How important do you think that is for children to have that kind of network in their life?
I think it's extremely important. Like I always say, like me and my friends, that we were, I don't want to say like the lucky ones, but a lot of people don't have that backbone, or they don't have that person that can push them or kick them when they need to be pushed in the right direction for a lot of things to happen. Because I've seen a lot of people that I love and care about without that, and I see the direction that they went with their lives. And sometimes I'm blessed and thankful for the individuals that actually like cared enough about me to be like, no, we're gonna do this instead of that. And I'm just glad and blessed is probably the biggest one, because like I said, even my background when I'm teaching or anything to that nature, I see kids that don't have that. And, that structure that I always go back to is like very important for a lot of these children.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because it really does matter in their lives. It gives them focus, which I think is very important, and empowerment, and support, realizing that there's someone out there that wants them to do well and want them to succeed. And sometimes you don't see that,
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you had that, and that hopefully, you'll continue to instill that in the young youth in your community. Now, Now, I understand, you graduated from college and you were a world history teacher. What made you interested in world history, politics, and just the system?
Well, I've always been interested in education.
Okay.
My first dream, I always wanted to be a U.S. history teacher.
Oh, wow.
That was like the biggest thing that I wanted to do. I know the importance of a good teacher.
Right.
Like I always say, to any person, you can ask anyone in the world from all different corners of the world.
Right.
Everyone knows their favorite teacher and everyone knows their worst teacher.
Yes.
And
Okay.
shows how important education plays a role on everyday life, as well as those individuals.
Right.
Because sometimes that good teacher can actually change the whole outlook of a scholar's view on education or life.
Yes.
So I knew the importance of that at a very young age, especially once I graduated. So I wanted to go into the education field until I had a class my freshman year, and James D. Boothman, politics, 101 U.S. politics.
Right.
And he knew, I guess he saw the potential in me and knew how much I was interested in politics. And he put me into a senior seminar class my freshman year. And that
eye-opening, was it?
it was a very eye-opening experience, but I knew that I could complete the work.
Okay.
And I knew that politics is something that I wanted to be a part of.
Okay.
And I always knew, and I felt like he stressed the importance to me on why politics should be in everyday life.
Right.
And once I started listening to him and started doing my own research on what certain things I want to change in my community, and it made it a lot easier.
Right.
It made it a lot easier to connect with a lot of the issues or problems of the world, as well as my township, Huntington.
I see. So what was it that he saw in you? Were you asking questions? I mean, obviously, like you said, you've always been into education. Obviously, that was very important to you. But what about you did he see that made him know that you would do well in this particular field?
I wish I knew. I think.
Were you inquisitive, asking a lot of questions? Were you passionate about certain issues?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. I was extremely passionate about just like education, like politics.
Okay.
And I knew that there's certain things of like trade school and vocational education, always knew was important to me. And I knew that intelligence is extremely subjective.
Right.
And I knew that people could be intelligent in everything.
Yes.
I always say, like, athletes are extremely intelligent in basketball because of how quick they think, or any sport to that nature. Or a young lady may be intelligent in doing arts because they see things that no one else can see.
Right.
So I kind of knew that at a young age, that intelligence is extremely subjective. So how can we put kids in better places to achieve those dreams?
Right.
Because like I said, like Algebra 2 trig may be important to somebody else, but
it's not important to everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And granted, I was like, I understand the importance of this is something that you need to graduate.
Right.
But while doing that, let's also put them on the right avenue to achieve what they truly want to. And I think once we start changing the whole education field to creating successful individuals rather than just people that either college or
Exactly. Just giving you 5 slots to choose from in categories, which that's the old antiquated way of doing things. Take a trade, go to college, be a lawyer, a policeman, a doctor. It's not about that. You're right. It's about what your gift is, you know, and utilizing that and honing and nurturing that. So I totally get that. So in school, before we move on, what did you see most important that you were lacking, or the school was lacking in giving you and helping you on your path?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was lacking for myself, because like I said, I always had like a great foundation, but like I said, I'm also lucky as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of individuals that will come to school and wouldn't say they could be going through a lot mentally.
Right.
And I've seen sometimes you couldn't really connect with certain, I don't want to say like individuals, but it's a big disconnect between a lot of like mental health awareness
Well,
and
definitely.
things to that
Yes.
nature. And we have to start making kids like comfortable with
Mhm.
speaking about these topics.
Yes.
And I kind of seen that with like throughout my high school, seen it throughout middle school, seen it from when I was teaching children. And once you let a child or a scholar get more comfortable with you,
Mhm.
they will be more easier
Yes.
to deal with, or
Yes.
they'll definitely love to listen to you a lot more. They'll take your word
Yeah.
a lot more. They'll trust you.
Exactly.
And once they come to your classroom, they'll want to put a little bit more effort just because of the individual you are.
Right.
And I think once we start teaching kids that,
Mhm.
it could be a lot easier. But that was just like one example. Would be like mental health,
Right.
trade schools being looked down on.
Right.
A lot of people used to look down at like the BOCES or
Yes, they
anything
did. Yes.
to that school, but not knowing that once they go to this school, they can become very successful in a
Exactly.
place like Long Island where small businesses
Right.
run everything.
Exactly. And
And
entrepreneurs are born daily. You're
yes,
absolutely right. You're
absolutely.
absolutely right. That is awesome. And you're absolutely right in regard to the disconnect with the mental health in schools. You know, I used to say that some teachers are just babysitters, you know,
Yes.
but the kids are also not sharing. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents that, you know, telling their kids, you don't tell what's going on at home, and you know, all of these things. So they're bearing the brunt of that, and it's a lot to deal with, and so they act out in different ways. So you're absolutely right. If they had that type of relationship with, you know, a counselor or a teacher or a guidance counselor or something to that degree, I think it would be easier to kind of deal with them, because you're understanding what they're contending with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
I was shocked to find out that there's so many kids that are coming to school that haven't eaten, and you know, scared to ask for breakfast, and you know, it's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I'm so
Yes.
glad that you're now putting yourself in that position
Yes.
to make those changes. Well, that's awesome. So how did you like teaching?
I loved it.
You did?
Teaching is probably one of the most rewarding experiences I think
Mhm.
I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
It humbled me
Mhm.
in ways that cannot imagine. Just hearing stories of children or seeing a lot of myself in certain children,
Yeah.
it kind of shows you that sometimes, especially in certain neighborhoods, there could be a cycle
Mhm.
that goes on, but someone has to kind of stop that cycle.
Yeah.
And I think with a teacher, you very much so can
Yes.
stop it, especially a
Yes.
teacher that can connect with their children.
Yeah.
So teaching was extremely rewarding.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, it was like, you know,
I see
thinking
that
of,
smile. I
yeah.
know it was. That's awesome. I
Yes.
know you really didn't even want to leave, you know, to
Yes.
pursue your next dream. But I know that, you know, there's levels to what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
And you're trying to just plant seeds in the different places that you're going right now. So I'm glad that you were able to impart, you know, something to these young minds. Let me ask you, I asked my guest last week, and I guess I'm going to ask you this because you're 24. I'm still shocked about that. But did you see who you would be today, back then, when you were that kid sitting in that classroom? Did you ever imagine the path that you would be on right now?
I think that's a really great question. In a way, I think I did.
Okay.
Like just a lot of the situations that was happening around me, and just the people that I was like, maybe not, I don't want to say like destiny or looking up into.
Right.
It kind of played like an extreme role in my life. Like I said, my mother was also a Head Start teacher as well as like a nonprofit organization leader, and those things that I didn't really notice at a young age until I get older, and I'm like starting to think to myself, like, was I always connected that way with her? And it's definitely I feel like I've always seen that I wanted to do something to change the world of some aspect.
That's what I think. The leaders are definitely born, my friend, and I do. I see that drive in you, and I just see that it is definitely your gift, and I also see that you're making a big impact on this world. So much so that, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, people in office and politics and how antiquated the minds are. And, you know, you got this fresh perspective on life and this new vision, this new sort of eye on change. And I know that, you know, after you were teaching, that you also went into politics and becoming a legislative aide
Yes.
for the Suffolk County legislator. So tell me a little about that, what your role is, and what made you transition there.
I think the biggest reason that it made me transition there, because I knew that what I wanted to do with education, especially like New York State or Long Island or even the country, I would eventually have to take this step to get to like the political aspect. I didn't want to, teaching was always, you know, the big thing that I didn't want to leave, but I knew it was something that it had to be done in order for me to really make change in my life. So I eventually became worked for the Suffolk County Legislature, and pretty much just proofreading, crossing the T's, dotting the I's of a lot of resolutions and laws that come in our way. And me being even in that seat, it made me give a different outlook of what's going on exactly in Long Island, specifically in my area. And it kind of just adds more knowledge to me. When I go into certain rooms, I can actually express how I truly feel with a lot of information to back it up. And I'm completely blessed for that opportunity to be in those seats and listening to a lot of the people that are above me in that way. They help me all the time, and they stress the importance of how like this is something that you truly need to make that next step. And I've been listening to every word, and you know, some days is better than others, but I know that this is something I truly want to do. So I know I can't skip these steps to achieve what I really want to achieve.
No, it's all about knowledge, you know, and you're gaining it, and it will serve, you know, what you're accomplishing, what you're trying to pursue in your future. What are you seeing, you know, in this role right now that kind of probably shocked you, and what are you seeing in this role that has kind of fascinated you?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen in this role is the importance of what people can do, or the effect that a person can have on politics. For example, sometimes there's a lot of meetings, like they have these things for like committee meetings, and not a lot of people will come to. And there's a lot of things that I think a lot of people should know about by sitting in these committees, because we are taxpayers and we're paying for a lot of these things that they want to put in play. So I think in order for everyone to truly make a difference, you have to at least take the next step of finding out, okay, what are some things that are on the agenda for some of these meetings, and trying to figure out how can we dictate what's going on in our area. And like I said, the people always have the power, because you vote for who's in office.
For the people, exactly.
So yes, I think that you truly have to know what's going on at all times, especially in these meetings or the general meetings from committee meetings, and you know, just listening. Sometimes there may not be a problem, but listening to what's truly going on is something that you can give to someone in your neighborhood or the people of your neighborhood to let them know, like, okay, this is going on. And I think there has to be someone to act as a liaison between the both, because sometimes you may not understand certain rhetoric that's in a paper or things, but there's someone that can. So we have to make sure that a lot of this language or a lot of these things are transferred down to the people of our community, wherever we live.
No, I agree. I find that we don't show up for a lot of these meetings that affect us, and then we complain later, and we and we're angry later. But the fact is that these meetings are going on, and unfortunately, they go on a lot of the times and inconvenient times for taxpayers, people who are working 9 to 5s and have responsibilities and things like that. But I do agree that we do need to get involved in order for our voices to really be heard. We can't just have a couple of people showing up trying to be the voice of the masses.
Absolutely.
So I love that, you chose this direction, because again, as I started earlier, we really do have a broken, antiquated system. And I'm sure you're seeing the cracks in that system where you're sitting right now. So let me ask you, what are your hopes, or what do you plan to do in your role as, let's say the next councilman for the town of Huntington? What would you do from what you're learning right now?
I think one of the major things I would do is kind of try to make a connection between the constituents of the town and the people in power. A lot of times a lot of the problems because we're disconnected.
Yeah.
And once we kind of bridge the gap between what's exactly going on, we have to make sure that information is passed on to every constituent.
Right.
Because once I feel like all the constituents have that power or that knowledge to make certain decisions, it's a lot easier when you're going to vote for an individual, or you have a better connection, or now you want to establish a relationship with that person, with like maybe the next generation, or sometimes just by establishing those certain relationships of people in power, you can kind of set yourself up or your family up in the next generation to connect with them. So I know like the councilman is something that I truly want to do. Even though sometimes I always take a step back I don't want to skip any steps to the process.
Okay.
Because I know sometimes there's people that need me in my community. And I know that I just need to do this step or another step in order to truly achieve my dream. And that could take 5 years, 10 years. Sometimes I got to realize I'm young myself.
Yes,
so,
you do have time, but still, at least it's on your radar.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure in the process, there will be quite a few steps that you're going to skip only because of the information that you're gaining right now. And people are going to see that they can just bring you along, no matter where you are at the moment. Well, I know that you're a new generation of this change that the world needs.
Yes.
And you formed an organization with some of your childhood friends. And that is honestly the name of the title, which is the Leaders of the New School, which is the name of your organization.
Yes.
I want to get to a quick video real quick of the organization, and then I want you to tell us a little about it. All right?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's roll it.
Steady, are you ready? What's going on? Steady, are you ready? Are you ready? What's going on? What's going on? Cold, fresh air. Feel the melody that's in the air. I'm down, take a look around. What's going down? However do you want me? However do you need me? However do you want me? However do you need me? However do you want me? However do you need me? However do you want me? However do you need me? Steady, are you ready? Are you ready? What's going on? Steady, are you ready? Are you ready? What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Cold, fresh air. Feel the melody that's in the air. Oh, yeah. I'm down, take a look around. Oh, it's slow now. However do you want me? However do you need me? However do you want me? However do you need me? However do you want me? However do you need me?
Oh my God, that was a serious video, my friend. I love it. So, Leaders of the New School, an organization about empowering our community, our youth. Tell me about it. How did it come about?
We started In 2020,
Mhm.
in about June, we responded to the killings of George Floyd,
Mhm.
and then we had a march throughout our town, a very peaceful one. A lot of people in our town actually was in support of what we were trying to do. Uh, but then a certain restaurant owner didn't feel the same way about it, and he said certain comments that, it was very ignorant remarks, but we kind of responded in an even more peaceful way. And once we did that, we kind of looked at each other and was like, maybe we should start an organization to make sure that these things don't happen anymore.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we're connected to the youth any type of way, and either socially, politically, or economically, and
Right.
whatever the youth needs, we
Right.
want to act as that resource.
I love that.
And once we did that, we started, just hitting the ground running. Started meeting with local officials, police commissioners, councilmen, councilwomen, legislators, assemblymen.
Wow.
And it was well, still is
Yeah.
very beautiful. Sometimes I even catch myself
Right.
a little bit, because some of the things that we're doing is kind of like mind blowing, and take a step back a
Right.
little bit.
Oh, I love it. I really, truly do. And it's clear that you have a great team around you. And the fact that you're trying to bridge the gap, because obviously if you had those voices out there that there was some opposition to what you're doing, that means there needs to be work done there in the community. And I'm so glad that so many rallied behind you. And now you have the ears of all the elected officials out there that see what you're doing. So what is your biggest mission? I understand, before we go any further, that you were able, and I don't know if the legislative, your position there had anything to do with it, but I understand that you were able to register Booker T. Washington home as a historical landmark, and it was approved recently.
Yes.
So tell me about
Yes.
that. How did that even come about? What made you even conceive that in your mind? And last question is, how did it make you feel?
So it kind of came about. I was on my lunch break. I was working, and I knew that the town of Huntington always had a connection with Booker T. Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So, the world history, the history teacher in me wanted to, just deep dive a little bit.
Right.
And once I started deep diving, I started uncovering certain things, such as him living out in Northport, speaking at Northport graduation, speaking in Bethel AME in Huntington. So there was a lot of connections. And it also said at the end of his bio that he once lived in Huntington Village.
Right.
And Huntington Village is like just a booming small business entrepreneur place that you could go down there and have something to eat. Like very beautiful, great place.
Little
And,
Soho.
Yeah. And once I started just like deep diving, and uncovered that one of his estates was actually Finley's of Green Street, a very famous bar and restaurant inside of the Huntington Township.
Wow.
And once I found out about it, I was in amazement about it. And I just, started telling everyone in my organization, like, this is Booker T. Washington was here, Booker T. Washington lived here, and everyone was like, oh, we have to do something about it. So started having meetings with the local town officials, the town historian, Robert Hughes, he's actually the one that wrote a lot of stuff on Booker T. So he kind of knew a lot about the information. So once I brought it to him, he was like, this is a no-brainer. Let's do it. And I even contacted one of the descendants of Booker T. Washington, and we had an entire conversation that was really, really eye-opening and humbling. And once he found out what we were trying to do, he kind of gave us the blessing, and we just hit the ground running. And then in November, we kind of unveiled the historical marker.
I love it. I love it. I think we got a picture or two, Bobby, of him and the group of people at that ceremony. It was actually done. Was it on the day that he passed away, November 5th? Did you choose that day purposely?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
That is really, really awesome.
Yes.
So the marker is there, and basically everybody that walks by this bar will see Booker T. Washington's name now on the bar. I'm going to visit that bar this weekend.
Yes.
I am. I'm having a drink with Booker T. Washington. I love it. So he owned that property.
Yes.
And then who owned it? I mean, how did they become, how did they get the property?
So I believe it went once he passed away. The property went to his wife, and then once his wife received the property, I believe she sold it a couple years later, if I'm not mistaken. And then a doctor of Huntington purchased it after it, and I believe after that is when the Finleys family became.
And it's been in their family this whole entire time. And this house is the actual house still intact, and they just turned it into a bar.
Yes, it looks exactly the same. It looks
That's
exactly
amazing.
the same.
You said Finley's in Huntington?
Yes.
Everyone, we're going down to Finley's in Huntington. I love that. I love that. So I know there's so much more you're trying to uncover now as a result of that. Tell me, how excited were you when this happened?
I was like truly not even excited, just very shocked with a lot of the stuff that was going on, especially when it came down to Booker T. Washington actually living in Huntington. And it was actually just a pretty cool experience knowing that there's someone that when you read about his ideologies, and he was literally maybe a mile or a mile and a half away at one point in time. And it shows that a lot of times history is like right up under our nose, everywhere. And with history like this, it has to be shown. In order for people in certain areas to really know that, oh, Booker T. Washington could do it, so can I. And I think that's one of the major reasons why I wanted his history to be unveiled, because a lot of times, a lot of young Black and brown children, we see a lot of these important people only in textbooks or only in books or only in movies. And a person like Booker T. Washington, I think people don't stress how important he actually was in a certain time period. And I want those little scholars or those kids from my neighborhood to actually look and see like, oh, there's a person that looks just like me that can do it, so can I. And I think that's what I was truly pushing for that, because I know the importance of seeing someone that looks exactly like you or has the same cultural background as you, and it gives you a little bit more oomph to do what you want to do with your life.
No, I totally get it. It's like that possibility is so much closer now, and I love that. I mean, honestly, listening and talking to you, you're like a young Booker T, my friend. I mean, your ideology and your thoughts, on Black people, and what we need, and especially the youth. The education is key, and he was a huge proponent of that, and entrepreneurship, and furthering yourself in that way so that you can sort of overcome these injustices, so to speak. Leaders of the New School, I know you got a great team. Tell me quickly about your team and who they are and how they contribute to this amazing organization.
So I wanted to personally, we have April, that's our social media manager. We have Danielle, that's our event coordinator. Also, Dose of DNA is her brand, her entire identity that makes her who she is, and she has been such a blessing to us. My treasurer, Kenny Charles, he's great with finances. My vice president, Randy Paul, paralegal. He's I call him the connector of dots. He always knows somebody that we need to know, and he's always setting up these things in motion. And he's kind of the person that gives the oomph with a lot of stuff. My brother, Jamar Jones, he acts as the liaison between the Huntington School District. So, so he speaks to a lot of people inside of the Huntington School District of what certain kids need, and comes back to our organization. And he's been remarkable in that field or that way. Gary Harris is actually the South Huntington School District liaison, and he connects with a lot of people of the school district to connect in that way. And Tyrese Betts, he's also a lot of the youth coordinator that I like, and he's always been connected with a lot of the children of the community because he's always been working out with them, because he was once a great athlete for the South Huntington School District. So he wants to make sure that the kids that are going to school for athletics are also doing great in the classroom as well as on the field. I think that's been the most important part, as well as we have a couple of mentors as well. Dana Beard, been a phenomenal mentor. She's like the push. Lauren Breland is also, I call her just the ultra push. She's gonna give just the straight up of what it needs to be. And Ron Wilson, my track and football coach, and he's the person that just gives us the camaraderie for us to always be together. No one to like break us up, make it this like a legit family, and it has worked beautifully.
I love that.
Beautifully.
I love that. I
Yes.
love, and I'm hearing just so many diverse people from diverse areas of commerce and business, and you all coming together still on one accord
Yes.
and one mission.
Yes.
And I think that's going to help so many people, because you're going to be hitting so many people in so many different areas. That is truly awesome. I love, the idea of what you're doing, and the fact that you're this new voice for this generation, which we so desperately need. Tell me, what are your hopes for the future? What do you hope to see real change happen here? No.
Yes. I think we just have to take certain steps in the right direction. There's a lot of stuff that can't happen overnight. And
True.
I do understand, just from me being in just the political realm, that there's not going to be things that happen overnight.
Right.
There's going to be people that want to do certain things on their agenda that they want to push across, which is, I think that's the reason that you got in office, because there were people that voted for you that think the exact same way.
Right.
So in my mind, I think we have to kind of make sure that these people that we're voting or voting for, actually we believe what they're saying.
Right.
Like they align with our values, they align with our morals. And I think once that step happens, then we can start making the next steps to okay, how should our education field, voting on school boards. School boards, a lot of people will overlook that election all the time, but these are the people that control your education tax, as well as what your children are learning.
Yes,
and
the resources and the tools and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know just the importance of what those individuals are talking about when they're going into these meetings, and we need that.
Right.
We need to be in those rooms. We need to be voting for individuals that reflect our values and our morals. And once that happens, things become a lot easier, because you could just who to go to, and it kind of makes your everyday life a lot easier. Yeah. Just in the simple form.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And they're actually supposed to be in that position for that reason, for your life to be easier. You're not supposed to think about anything but coming home, providing for your family, and just being happy, And so I love that you said that. Back to leaders of the new school. What would you like, the viewers and everyone out there to know about leaders of the new school and what you stand for and believe in?
I think the major thing that we really want other people to know is that we are literally just here to help. Sometimes we get, even just people, especially like in the political or, organizational space, that it's like a competition. Yeah. And it's not that with us. I truly want to change the dynamic of how my neighborhood looks or the area that I live in. I know the importance of having certain resources that we need, from building up a basketball court in our park, or giving scholarships to kids that are going to college. I truly want to just help the people of my community, and just showing that it's not a competition. And I think that's what we're really pushing and really trying to push, so that if someone else in the organization is doing something well, we'll repost it. We love to know that there are more people that want to change. I got in this field, as well as my peers, as well as the people in my group, because we just want to change of how certain things look. And sometimes it doesn't even take a lot of effort. It just shows who cares a little more. And I think that's what we really want people to know, is that we're truly here to help, especially myself, that I just want to help.
Yes, I love that. I really, really love that. And partnerships and support is really, really important and needed. It's just one extra person that can change the trajectory of every goal, every focus, everything that you're wishing to change and see happen in the world. So I love that. I love that, the mission is to help, and in any capacity that is, I think that is admirable, because it's a lot of people that we want to serve and help. But if you put it out there, the right people will join in with you, and it won't be so much of a labor, you know? So I love that. So what keeps you inspired? What inspires you daily to keep going in this path?
I think I have like a lot of inspirations. The people with my organization inspire me. You know, it's kind of like they won't notice, but I get inspired by them completing more stuff for themselves. So if I see a dose of DNA just post Danielle's her business, and I see her making a reel and seeing people loving it, it pushes me to be like, okay, like I want to be on the same level as her, as well as like I'm seeing like a lot of my peers, you know, doing extremely well in whatever field. It kind of pushes me and motivates me. And of course, my mother motivates me probably the most. I was like, a lot of the sacrifices that she gave for me and my brother to have a better life, that I just want to make sure that she knows that she ain't make no mistakes.
I love it.
So I think that's those are the two motivations that really push me, the people of my organization, because, you know, the healthy competition can only make people better. Maybe that's the athlete in me a little bit, but I know that they push me to become a better person and a better leader every day.
Right. I love that. You know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, we're going to discuss how important it is for everyone to be a leader. And I know that you're born with that. I know that you are. There's no doubt in my mind. But how can we, the average person, just, you know, sitting on your couch, like you said, you know, not showing up to these meetings, not doing the work, how can the average person, from your perspective, become a leader?
I think the average person become a leader just by do what you want to do, but make sure it's positive. Because I think a lot of times it's very easy to go and do the wrong thing. All the time. Sometimes you want to sleep a little later in bed because your alarm goes off. But being a leader, that's just taking the first step right there, making sure that, no, I'm going to do this regardless. Leaders handle their responsibilities and they hold themselves accountable because they know that you don't know who's watching.
Exactly.
And as a teacher, well, a long time ago, there's always someone watching you, and especially kids. And kids can pick up everything that you're doing, and they can even pick up a lot of the good things that you're doing just by them just being around you, and you just being a stand-up or a stand-up individual. And I think it's the same thing with people. A lot of times you want to become a leader, you have to just make sure that you're doing the first step to hold yourself accountable and
lead by example,
and do what you truly want to do. Don't let anyone influence what you want to do.
I love that. And that's so right. Oh my God, Amaru, it has been such a delight to have you on the show. I don't even want to go because there's so much more I'm sure we could talk about. But real quick, before we end, what would you like to share with the viewers? What's on your heart?
You know, I think the biggest thing that I wanted to share, just going back and touching to that topic of education. Education is an enlightenment of some sort. And a lot of times people confuse education with, just staying in a classroom and just being, I don't want to say the term robot, but you're just following commands and things of that nature. But I think the true epitome of becoming an educated individual is being enlightened in whatever field that you feel that you are enlightened in, from music to arts to math, science, history, English. I think once we start completing that task for, just the everyday person and changing the structure of education, it can actually impact the next generation a lot more than it ever has. And even trade school can definitely play a big role, because sometimes a lot of people are just not really cut out for school. But we are cut out to be successful human beings.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's the thing that we truly need to know. And that's definitely something that these past couple months I've been finding my way in, on how can I make sure that every kid or every person after me are just becoming better people of society.
Yes, I love
So-
that. I love that. Thank you so much for being here. That is very important. What you said, education is so important, and it is key to a successful future and future leaders of the world. So we're going to put up your information real quick. You can catch him on Instagram and Facebook at the Leaders of the New School. We are so glad that you came. I'm so happy that you blessed us with this conversation and the information. So we're going to get real quick to the Dare to Be You. And the Dare to Be You is one voice can change a room. And if one voice can change a room, then it can change a city. And if it can change a city, it can change a state. And if it can change a state, it can change a nation. And if it can change a nation, it can change the world. Your voice can change the world. And that's exactly what my friend here, Amaru, is doing. And I hope inspiring others out there to believe as well that your voice matters, that your voice can be heard, that your voice can change the world. Go out there and actually say something, be a part of something, give back in some way, serve in some capacity, empower your community, show up for these meetings, do the things that are needed to ensure that the next generation will have a better future. I thank you so much,
Yes,
Amaru,
thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, guys, we are going to see you next week. But before I go, I want to wish everyone a Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas, an abundantly blessed and happy New Year 2023. This has been an amazing year. I probably will be here next Tuesday, but in the event that I am not, because I'm out celebrating Christmas and New Year's and all that, I just want everyone to just use this opportunity, this next couple of weeks, to really, really clean out whatever garbage you have going on in your life and prepare for the beauty that is about to be rained upon you. I wish you a Merry Christmas with your family and your friends. Love on them and share with them. But more importantly, prepare yourself for the blessings that God has in store. I want you to have a wonderful evening. Remember that peace and love is in the palm of our hands. We will or we will not see you next week on Your Unity, but regardless, I love you and you have a wonderful week and we'll see you soon. Say good night, Amaru. He's going to say good night. Peace.
Strong Island Entertainment.